Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. So with the rise of the creator economy in the past few years, a lot of people have been flocking to these different platforms to host course products, to host communities, to host any sort of creator product. And I'm really excited to welcome onto the show today, Teri Yu. And Teri has worked at companies like Microsoft and Asana in product development. And she then created the tool Vibely, which was a community platform that she then sold to powerhouse Kajabi, which is, by the way, the course platform I use. I also use Asana deeply. And actually, this whole podcast is managed on Asana. And my podcast editors, Sid and Carter, my CMO, and my podcast manager, they are probably fanboying over this interview because we love the tools that Teri has worked on before. So I'm really excited to welcome her onto the show, not only as a founder who's raised over $2.5 million and then exited, but also as someone who is passionate about building community, stayed on in the product space with Kajabi, and she's now managing the development of their community platform. Now, we're going to be talking about everything from how to build community effectively, how to utilize these tools, but also you're going to get some information on what they're currently working on. So stay tuned until the end because you're going to hear what Kajabi has in store, at least whatever Teri can share with us. And you're going to get some insights into how you can effectively build a community either using their platform or another. But I'm not going to lie, she completely sold me in this interview on why Kajabi is really developing their community platform in addition to courses so that you can leverage the whole space. I really don't think these creator products are going anywhere anytime soon. Kajabi is becoming more holistic and we absolutely love it. You're going to catch in the show notes a link to Teri's social media as well as my link if you'd like to give Kajabi a try. So without further ado, let's hear from Teri. Hey, Teri, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much, Shannon.
Of course. Can you just introduce yourself to everyone listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Teri. I was previously a tech founder who sold our company to Kajabi, which is a $2 billion course community coaches platform where you can make money doing having your own setup and your own operations. I work on the community side as the director of product. So we just launched the integration in January, and it's been an exciting, wild ride. I think we've seen lots of good responses, lots of good feedback, lots of ways to improve. So we're definitely handling it all and just being really in the weeds there. I've also raised over 2.5 million in funding. We had actually 5 M&A offers back when the market was not as bad as it is today. And we ended up choosing to join forces with Kajabi. So it's been such a great experience so far.
That's super cool. Let's rewind back to Vibely. What inspired you to create that? And I just want to hear more about the journey from, I guess, initial Vibely founder to the acquisition, like that whole kind of journey in a nutshell. I mean, I know you can go on forever about it probably, but
Yeah, absolutely.
what that was like and what the why behind it.
Absolutely. So going back to why I even started Vibely, why communities meant so much to me. So as a child, I actually grew up very poor. My parents were immigrants from Taiwan to Arizona. They didn't have much to make ends meet. I think we lived in a really ghetto area in Arizona where like they would actually hear people have like domestic abuse fights and all that nearby. My mom would actually go door to door knocking on people's apartments just to see if anyone needed haircut services or babysitting services. And then my dad was a local dishwasher at the cafeteria, and he, was working night and day essentially to help our families survive. So when we were in this situation, they really took a lot of ownership and were persistent, kind of like tried to pull this out as much as possible. And the local community called the Taiwanese American Association, which was just a group of Taiwanese people who also had immigrated, really helped to prop them up. So it was like mental, it was like financial, it was connection wise, like everyone was there to help each other. And so, because of that, and my parents' just relentlessness, they're able to pull themselves into like the middle class, which is awesome. My dad became a software engineer at Intel. My mom is now a real estate agent, and she's now the president of the Taiwanese American Association,
That's
the very
so cool.
that she had benefited from.
That's amazing. And so what led to the community aspect and like your desire to be your own founder?
So I was very impassioned by this mission to start something where people had meaningful, enriching social connections that actually helped them accomplish their dreams. So back in 2011, I also was a YouTube creator. I had a very viral dog. She was all she did was look alive and jump around, and she was very cute. But her sixth
That's
video
awesome.
hit it big. So she had 2 million plus views, which was a lot back in the day. And she had an agent in UK representing her. She had all these Japanese TV networks that were wanting to buy her video. It was a really interesting journey, but that gave me deep insight to how much engagement happens around a YouTube channel or even a
Mm,
creator, right? Like all these Klekai owners, which is the kind of dog I had, would flood my inbox with the same questions or their own stories about what they struggled with, what they loved about their Klekai, like what their Klekai did that day. And it just made open my eyes to just the power behind that kind of engagement and what you could do if you had the scale to turn that into community. And so once I quit my job at Asana, which I was a PM at back in the day,
hmm.
I really wanted to work on this mission of helping bring people together. And then our foray into it was working with all like the creators that we had connections with, using my own personal experience to kind of build this ultimate experience where creators could host communities on their own terms.
I love that. And so Viably came to be,
Yes.
right? Who was it built for? And talk about kind of the successes you had with Viably, maybe even some mistakes you made along the way and how that led into the acquisition.
Yeah, absolutely. So any business or any startup will pivot lots at the beginning. I think for us, we went in it with a mission and a problem that we were attached to, but not necessarily a solution. So we started out actually helping creators host communities all over the world that had an offline focus. So at first, it was we worked with creators like Dearline, who is this big travel lifestyle creator. She wanted Girl Gone Global meetups all over the world, and so she would host them in the Philippines and like Tokyo and Australia and LA, wherever. And these would be led by her own local chapter ambassadors. And so these Girl Gone Global meetups were happening everywhere. Everyone was, having a really great face-to-face interaction, becoming friends, becoming business partners. And it was just such a cool thing to see everyone's like come together from online to offline. But what happened was COVID hit, which took us from over 500 meetups happening to zero in the span of a few days. And so we really had to figure out how to pivot quickly and make our mission come true despite the form factor we had originally anticipated not being the ultimate solution. So that's when we started really focusing on the online and making it super easy for both creators to control and create a community, but also for the community members to have really engaging, vibrant experiences. So we built features like challenges where you can have a call to action for the community and they all do it together, whether that's watching a video or learning how to draw or journaling or taking a photo or doing kind of like music battles or whatever. And then we also had features like events, like discussions. I think there's both a feed and a chat format where you can discuss things in real time and ephemerally in the chat, or you can discuss it more like high posterity style where, things are referenceable, longer paragraphs. So that's kind of where we iterated the product to be. And today it's getting even better with all the different ways that we're hooking into the Kajabi ecosystem. Particularly, we want to make it easier for the workflows to just continually to be streamlined, for community members to engage in things that are beneficial to the Kajabi ecosystem, like more course completions, more value that members are getting out of the Kajabi side. And yeah, lots of really cool things coming and improvements.
I love it. I so badly want to get into all that stuff, but I also want to just go back to the acquisition one more time because I think this is such a cool opportunity, guys, to hear from someone who actually went through this and had, I'll say an exit, but not really because you're still there, you're still building
Okay.
it, but
Yeah.
it's also it's such a fun experience and I'm sure you learned a ton. So can you just talk about what made you maybe choose Kajabi as a partner or why you were looking to potentially sell the rights to it? Like why the silly worded question is, so why not just build this and build your own empire, Terry? Why, why let Kajabi buy it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it was something that I personally struggled with at the time to figure out because when we first kicked this process off, we had a term sheet from a Series A firm to continue. So
Hmm.
in the startup world, we have venture capitalists who inject money into these startups. You can continue to grow and scale, and the goal is for you to become, the next Uber, Airbnb, a 10 billion plus company. And so in that moment, we also had an acquisition offer that came through, and the prices were not all that different from like a valuation perspective. This was like, 2000, 2021, 2021-ish when it was a lot better of a market. But we just, I think there were a couple things I had to think through. So first was, where are we as a business? Like, how do we think that we're going to succeed long term with the current trajectory that we have? So when I was looking at Viably in totality, it was clear to me that the product was good, that creators were enjoying it, community members had really high engagement, which is why Kajabi was so interested in it. However, there was a challenge of growth that was unpredictable for us. We wanted to continue to scale up with our creators. Like we had them, like they were referring people to us. There were viral loops that we had, but it wasn't necessarily like the product market fit was not as strong as Kajabi in that sense. And so because that strategy was up in the air, I wanted to see if there was any kind of partnership that would work with a company that had pre-existing relationships with creators and entrepreneurs that needed this kind of platform. So the second thing that we thought through was just personal energy level. I think everyone in our team had been grinding for 5 years. And it's a pretty long time in startup years. I think it's average and expected, but it's a long time to dedicate like half a decade to. And so it wasn't like we had just started, we tried some things and we decided it was the time. It was that we had tried a lot of things. We knew that Kajabi was a company we just kept hearing about from our customers and creators. They all said, how can you integrate with Kajabi? Like, how can I set this up on Zapier? Like, everyone wanted to set that up. And so it became very clear that Kajabi was a great symbiotic partner in that way. And
Yeah.
so when we're in those kind of acquisition discussions, I had reached out to one of our investors, Hiten Shah, and he's one of a product voice on Twitter, and he's the founder of a company called Navan and Kissmetrics. But he introduced us to one of the founders of Kajabi, Jay Cron, who's now on the board, and that conversation started, and it ultimately ended up working out, which was incredible.
Amazing. I'm so happy for you because you found an aligned partner, didn't have to say goodbye to the baby
Exactly,
necessarily.
exactly. And yeah, there were
But
so many other considerations there,
yeah,
like the fact that, the business and the product continue to live on. We had did our creators and our customers right by not just building something, having them depend on it, shut it down, but also the team, because we wanted to make sure the team was very comfortable, that they all came with that. We did right by the people who served us for 5 years.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those like scenarios where it's almost everybody wins in a sense. It's you get the acquisition, you feel like, oh, we're now partnered with someone who can really take this to the next level and help further the same mission. I think that's a big thing is that you found a partner who was aligned on the mission to serve communities of creators where you felt like it was being either passed off. Now I know that you're still on the ship, right? But like passing it off to a captain in a sense or a vessel that was already moving in the same direction. So you felt like
Yeah.
it was probably a good idea to say, yeah, this just makes sense. That like we're all on
Yeah.
the mission of serving the same person.
Yeah, it was kind of a marriage made in heaven in every facet possible. It
Yeah.
was like the team dynamics and the culture was very symbiotic. There was the creator and the actual like customer need was like a perfect match. Even just like the direction that we were heading in, kind of the vision we had for the world in terms of creators owning their own brand and their own business and becoming like the future of work. All that was all perfectly wrapped up in a bow. So it was a no brainer at the end of the day.
Yeah, I could see why. Now let's shift gears into the community aspect. You mentioned that you had like insane engagement and that's why it was attractive to Kajabi as a partner. Let's talk about the engagement. I think this is something a lot of community builders struggle with because, and myself included, it's very challenging to kind of get the ball rolling, to like break the ice in the community and to get people to really start engaging, with you and with each other. What do you think were some of the factors to Vibely's success as a platform that contributed to high engagement?
So we were really engagement focused from the beginning. So when we analyzed kind of what features we built, what the roadmap was ahead, it was all about how do we help the community members have that peer to peer interaction with each other in an authentic and a meaningful and a really exceptional way that made it so that creators didn't have to spend so much time lifting the community up. That was kind of the premise of our background. So we ran tests and experiments. We constantly improved the product to make the best engagement features. So then we shipped things like the challenges, which were honestly our flagship feature that gave everyone a like immediate spark to their community. So people would do like 31 days of like personal development, maybe 10 days of reading, book clubs with different chapter 1 challenges, chapter 2 challenges. It was a way for people to learn and grow and do things together that weren't so alone. And so I think that really dug into like the human needs that we have, and was also very matched to our mission. So that was a huge win for us. But there's also things like live rooms and events where people come together face to face, are able to talk about the content they're already thinking about. They're able to learn from others, get feedback, collaborate, all these things that are enabled from just that interaction. And then we have things like the discussions and challenges and or discussions in circles. So that gave everyone to have on-demand support, advice, tips whenever people needed, which is such a remarkable thing to have, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And all this coming together was really a toolkit that each creator used and decided with their brand and how they're going to leverage it. I think interestingly, what we're seeing on the Kajabi side is that heroes and creators want a lot more customization with it. And so that's what we're building right now, which is we already have this baseline engagement layer. How do we make it so they can customize every aspect of it to the depth that Kajabi creators are expecting? So that's
Mhm.
something that is very much on our minds. We're working on it. It's continually getting better. We already shipped a lot of things. Yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction.
That's super cool. And when you mentioned like the features like the challenges, for example, it makes me think of the it's like an analogy for it, but it's funny, like those team building events and things that you do at the office. It's going,
Yeah.
well, we're in a department all working on the same thing is one part, but then there's a different thing when you're all taking action together to do something together or to do some even on your own, but you're all going through it together. And there's
Yeah.
something to be said about infusing action taking into the community where that will propel the engagement. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because not everyone is a self-learner, right? I am definitely
Right.
not. I think I'm a super extrovert. So when I learn, when I get things done, it's a lot more pleasant and a lot more enjoyable for me when I have people beside me in the trenches. So that's kind of where challenges comes from with partnering with each other to drive that action forward. Like we are better as individuals when we are a collective and we get that feedback, have that support. There's a saying that the sum of its parts is greater than the individuals, and it's just so true, especially when your community's all pointed towards the same kind of goals.
I would totally agree. And take this either way, right? What do you think are some of the top either factors to success for communities run by strong creators, like stronger communities, what's working, versus what mistakes are creators making as they build communities where they're missing out on building that growth, that engagement, and the level that they want?
Yeah. So strongest things that we've seen from creators are just ones that have a good launch strategy, as well as, continuing to be part of the community in going forward. So what first launch strategy, there's a lot of things that we've seen tactically creators do to be successful here. So starting out small, which is a little bit counterintuitive, but starting out small to create an initial base of advocates and loyalists who are going to help you scale the community as it grows is just something we've seen work really well. So whether you call them founding members or you call them your VIPs or however you want to make it feel exclusive and fun, those people will give you the feedback that you need to improve it. They'll also, be more patient as you work out any like program changes or kinks. They'll also be the ones like answering questions later as you like build and bring in more people. So starting out small and then kind of expanding it so that once you have that set of spots filled, you have your second round of people and third round of people that you bring in so that everyone continues to feel like this is a really special, exclusive place to be. And then kind of as you're building the community, bringing your community members along the way. So asking them things like, what should we name the community from the get-go? If you do it like a Instagram poll, for example, and then re-sharing those back to your Instagram stories as, hey, I heard you guys wanted this community name and you wanted this kind of benefit. Like we're now accepting founding members and just kind of like creating that feedback loop between your ideas and their ideas and bringing them along to so that they feel super excited and bought into what you're building. So after you get that live, being consistent with content and just thinking about like what is in it for your community. What kind of transformation are they going to get? How is this going to help them? Like in consideration with the Kajabi courses that or coaching they might already have access to, what kind of lives, what kind of challenges could be interesting for them. And then thinking about how to scale your time so that others can potentially do that for you. So whether you have a team already in place that can help release challenges or events on your behalf, or if you want to go for the ambassador model where you you promote people in your community to become your leaders and your voice and having them lead the discussions and come up with interesting ideas. Those are all amazing strategies I've seen both Kajabi creators and original Lively creators as well use.
Yeah, I love that. And I especially love the idea of engaging and making them feel like co creators and co founders, because that does mean something to them. It may
Really
sound
does.
like, well, I'm just having them like work in the group and do it. It's special to them. They want to be involved. They want to feel like they're part of the team. There are a lot of people, including myself, who get gratification from feeling like, oh, I'm special. Like I'm a VIP. Like it does
Yeah,
make people feel special.
it is. And it's not something that, we sometimes think of it as like, oh, it's kind of
Cheesy.
cheesy to feel that way, but
Yeah.
it's not. When you, as humans, like we find value in, think brands or being fulfilled in things that we care about. And
Mhm.
so having a role, like it's the same of like why you would want to be a manager at a company. Like what kind of it's more work for you, but why do you feel like that's something you want to go for? Maybe you
Right.
feel more fulfilled, maybe you feel like you can contribute more, you're getting impact in your life. I think a lot of that contributes to human happiness more than we anticipate.
And let's talk about like the features of a community too. Like I know that you're working in product at Kajabi. What are you? I mean, and this is totally on the fly. Are you seeing any creative uses of the community side of Kajabi? Like when I'm thinking of it, I'm thinking, okay, I offer a course and I also let the people who are in the course into this community and they can talk to each other and ask questions, right? That's kind of like the natural place my brain goes to how to use the community feature. Have you seen any like unexpected uses of it or unique success stories in folks using the community platform?
I think I've seen everything at this point. I love seeing when our heroes customize the community to their own business. So there's a feature where you can set a custom tab and have that be a Kajabi landing page or whatever kind of landing page you want to pour in. And those setups, when people land on this community, has been just gorgeous to see. You'll see, different formats that people prefer, like their color schemes, their branding, and it's just such a wave of creativity every time. I think the use cases that have been pretty cool are just seeing people go on live video and doing kind of like hot seat sessions or feedback sessions where one person shares and does like a show and tell and someone else watches and gives them feedback, whether in chat or live. We've also seen things like happy hours or like study sessions where people are just sitting in there either talking and sipping some wine, or they're just all silent and just working and getting things done as accountability partners. And then on the challenges side, I think I mentioned some of my favorite examples are like the book club challenges, because it really helps to give like almost a virtual forum for people to break down what they're learning about in books. And then there's this idea of like emoji challenges I've seen as well, where it's like a guessing game, an icebreaker almost, where people ask, like, name your favorite, movie in emoji terms. And everyone kind of like posts their favorite
Oh,
movie
I
in
love
emojis.
that. I've seen those like things on Instagram that's like name this movie from just the emojis. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and it's been so cute and cool to see, and I love it when also there's a part of the challenge where you're asked to engage. So it's like, give your favorite movie in emojis, but also, comment and guess on 5 of them. And you can do fun contests and competitions with it too, where it's like, the person who gets the most right gets this swag that I have laying around at home that I don't even want. There's so many cool things like that. I think the world is your oyster when it comes to setting up your own community.
Yeah, it's the so for someone like me, it's the ultimate advantage and disadvantage because I'm like, I can literally do anything in here.
Oh
And
yeah,
and then I go, what the hell do I do in here? So there's so many ideas that you just shared. I'm like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. But I know if I did all of those things, it would be overwhelming as hell. So
yes,
you also have to like refine it, right? And be
oh
like,
yes.
this is what this is designed for. Do you recommend having some type of like, I don't know, architecture to your community, like designing it, or do you recommend people just kind of dive in, go with it and see what's working and try all these different things? Like how much do you recommend creators kind of plan ahead for how this is going to go?
So I'd say both. I think you should create some kind of tentative plan with that's in accordance to your strategy that you might already have or your setup you already have, just to ensure you're putting your best foot forward. However, it is a fatal flaw to over perfect before you get there, because you always learn things along the way. Your community members are going to tell you what they like, what they don't like. They'll have their own ideas that you should absolutely lean into, probably better than even your own sometimes. And so I think having an initial strategy to think about the transformation that you are giving your customers from the get-go, how this plays in, like what kind of additional value they'll get from the community, how can they help each other, giving people that like initial structure but then allowing the flexibility to be able to like iterate and continue to open it up as more and more ideas flood in.
And does a company like Kajabi, for example, I know you can speak to Kajabi firsthand, but do you guys offer any sort of like, I don't know, for someone who maybe wants to start the community, use the feature, what resources are available from Kajabi or otherwise to help you optimize your community or to help you along the ride of like designing it?
Yeah, so we have number one, a Kajabi bulletin that goes out every week. It's in the Kajabi Hero community as well on Facebook. And that has different stories of our creators who are releasing communities, like what they are doing, just to give nuggets of inspiration. The second thing is we do have a pretty robust repository FAQs of different things that you can do and to set up. I think what we're thinking about and would love to hear from people if they like this idea, but is kind of like surfacing all these different examples into more of a like searchable, discoverable library, at least for reference for each other. Obviously, we'll need to make sure that the examples are, perfectly like anointed and like ready from the like heroes would actually want that.
Yeah.
But that could be a source of truth and inspiration for people as well.
Also, just for the sake of lingo, I'm a Kajabian as well as Terry. And can you just tell everyone what a hero is?
Yes, I know. It's very difficult because I talk about heroes internally all the time.
I
So, a
know.
hero is what we refer to as our own creators at Kajabi. We think of them as heroes just because they are such superstars. From whenever from the moment they start their business to scaling it up to thinking about the different pieces of it. These are literally works of genius in a way where everyone is just thinking through so many different problems, working on so many different things. And so we think of them as our heroes just because of all the everyday work that they do, as well as how much impact they have in the world and their own customers.
Do you have anything you call villains?
No, we
Probably
don't. We
not.
should, though. It's true.
If you're like for any problem, any dev problem, you're like, that's a villain.
Yes, bugs are
We have
villains,
heroes.
any kind of lack of feature is a villain. We're on the
Yeah,
same side. We're always trying to make it better. So
I love it.
those are just
So before we get into, I know everyone's waiting with bated breath on ideas for like what's coming with the Kajabi community platform and what to expect. Before we get into that, real quick, what is the best way if someone's interested in learning more about Kajabi or interacting with you, Terry? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I think the best way is within the Kajabi Hero community on Facebook. That actually has a lot of resources for heroes to learn from each other and grow with each other. But for to connect with me personally, I have an Instagram handle with the username Teriyaki Chicken. It's not the most professional thing ever. I've had multiple publicists tell me to change it, but it's part of who I am, and I love it because it's fun. So that is my Instagram. I also have a Twitter account, and that's just the Teri Yu, which is a lot more professional as it should be.
Well, it's easy to remember, and that's what matters.
Yes, that's what I'd like to think.
And we'll be sure, guys, that's in the show notes too. Go give Terry a follow and let her know that you listen to the show. And if you have any ideas, I'm just about to bombard you, Terry, but like people are going to start sharing their feedback potentially. But yes, definitely go into the Kajabi Hero community so she can definitely have her and her team absorb that in a more
Yes,
formal way.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
We love feedback for what it's worth.
right.
So give it to me brutally, give it to me honestly, and our team is working on it. And all that will be incorporated. So as much as I can, I'll try to respond to any feedback personally. But just know that we're hearing you.
And on that note, so I want to lead into what's coming, right? You know that's what I'm going to ask next, but lead into that with what feedback have you gotten, and how has that kind of flowed into the improvements that are coming. So let's talk about what's coming, but can we talk about the origin of those two so that we can see like what problem are you solving right now at Kajabi?
Yes. So current focus is more tactical. So we're hearing a lot of feedback in terms of just certain tweaks and edits and UX improvements that people need to make their community as best as it can be. So we're in that kind of like maintenance mode right now. However, coming up next is customization. And we're thinking about it in terms of how do you, as a business, set up the community so that it feels like totally yours. So that is thought through on many different levels. It's in planning, but we'll roll that out as we get to that phase. And then this next phase is also thinking about deeper integrations with the Kajabi ecosystem. So building a deeper connection between courses and challenges, for example. How can we automate that so it feels easier for you that, anytime you have a new lesson or a module or whatnot, that can be turned into a challenge that can drive engagement between your community members, make it fun, gamify it more. But also things like different, like the segments that you have within your email list. How can we integrate that more so that your community can be part of that conversation, that you can target certain people that maybe haven't engaged as much or have taken this action to complete a challenge, right? Think of all the different things that you could accomplish and put together if you had all the systems just talking to each other and the data all fully integrated. So that is definitely within the works as well. And then more like admin and engagement tools as well is on the roadmap. So things like pin posts, things like improved member experiences where they land, a homepage, like all that is in the works already and kind of like sprinkled across the entire different buckets that we have. But it's a challenge to prioritize things. I think there's so much for us to do. We have so many ideas. We've heard so many ideas. So that's the main thing that we are currently thinking through.
I love it. Teri, what excites you the most in the future outlook of where either the product is headed, the company is headed, or anything that's going on right now with Kajabi, with your product? What is the most exciting to you?
So I think Kajabi is on an incredible trajectory. I mean, we've powered over 5 billion in creator revenue recently. Creators are making over 5 million a day on the platform alone. And we are growing 4 times faster than even Patreon. And so I'm so excited for the future of Kajabi and how it's going to change the entire way we think about work. We're really going to empower entrepreneurs and creators everywhere to own their own business, to scale their own business. I think we're in the future, especially with AI kind of becoming this new wave of operations and task completion that it didn't exist before. I think we might live in a world where everyone has their own business and doesn't even work at a company anymore. It's kind of like a completely different mental model where we'd have personal brands driving forward the future of work. We don't have this idea of like necessarily big orgs or big companies. Like there's a lot of like potential AI tools that would take care of that. So it's exciting to see what the future will be in this world, but I do see us as the next gen of Shopify in a way where we power this whole marketplace of businesses that all kind of own their own destiny.
I love that. And I would not disagree with you. I think that's exactly where it's headed. I think Kajabi is already doing that. I think they are. And I think it's just going to be amplified the more that people realize their own potential at earning money through their own online business and how, frankly, easy it is to just kind of plug this in and go and start a business online in no time.
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening. Like so many people are quitting their jobs or even after layoffs going and starting their own business and finding that they're making a lot more money. I just talked to a hero who's making just quit their job and making 15 to 20K per month now, far more than they were when they were just a employee at a company. So I think the wave is starting, like the whole content creation industry and like coaching business is just thriving. Like more and more kids are wanting to become their own entrepreneurs and creators long term. And so we're in this perfectly situated place where we can really be the backbone and power all that, which is just so exciting to me.
I'm really excited for you that you found a partner and a company that you could integrate with that was also so fulfilling in your mission as well, so that you can just keep pursuing that without really feeling like you're sacrificing anything. So that's a really cool, optimal outcome for you as well.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Yeah, it was a big part of our calculus during the acquisition talks, and I couldn't be happier.
Amazing. Teri, is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with who maybe let's just assume they don't have Kajabi yet, or they're just now Googling what Kajabi is, which is, by the way, Kajabi, in case you couldn't tell how to spell it. We're going to have all the information about it in the show notes as well. But, for those listening who are thinking, gosh, I'm getting so many ideas on how to create an online community, how to leverage community in my business, how to scale using community, what's something that you can leave our listeners with by way of advice or something you've learned about community?
Yeah, I'd say that don't let yourself get stuck in decision paralysis. There's an infinite amount of ideas that you will have, your team will have, your community members will have. And so I'm always a proponent of test and learn. Often within that, you will have failures as well, but failures is part of the series of steps to success. And so try different things and think about and retroactively look at what happens when you test those things, and then double down on the things that are working and cut the things that aren't. Life is an entire journey of learning, and if you don't take action, you'll never get to the success points.
All great pieces of advice. Teri, thank you so much for spending time with me today and joining me and our listeners to go through this topic.
Thanks, Shannon. It was such a pleasure to chat with you and so much fun.
Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could chat with me and our guests about this episode? Well, guess what? You can. Join the Keep What You Earn community now using the link below in the show notes. You can post your questions, chat with fellow business owners, and the best part, it's totally free. Oh, and by the way, it's not a Facebook group. That's right, no noisy notifications or distractions. Just what you need to get the full experience from listening to this podcast and maximizing your value. Meet us over there after the episode to get exclusive content and access to me and our guests for your questions. We'll see you over there. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.